If you are a fan of the Warriors and are tired of waking up to rumors, promises, and maybes, hold this here. A giant decision just came out today, and it changes the team's path from now on. I know the pain of seeing the season slip away in details, of feeling like the window is closing while the league is moving. But this update could be exactly the adjustment needed to turn the game around. In 30 seconds, I will explain to you what happened, what this unlocks in the squad, and what changes in the rotation, in the trades, and in the front office's plan. No nonsense. Straight to the point. Before I show you what has changed and why this decision could turn the key, do the following quickly. Leave a like now so this video reaches more Warriors fans. Check if you are already subscribed to the channel and activate the bell, because when the news breaks, you receive it first and don't have to chase it. And comment below. Do you think this is the beginning of a turnaround or just another movement to save time? I'll read it generally. Now stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you the real impact of this decision and what possibilities it opens up, and one of them could surprise a lot of people. There are times when a franchise realizes, in the hardest way possible, that potential doesn't win games alone. And I say this thinking about the fan who follows each match, each rotation, each press conference, and feels that mixture of hope and anxiety. You look at the squad, you see talent, you see young players, you see possibilities, but at the same time, the clock doesn't stop. The urgency of now knocks on the door. That's exactly the point the Golden State Warriors seem to be at today. And when I say seems, it's not to dramatize. It's because the signs are there, in the day-to-day choices, in the minutes distributed, in what happens when the game gets tough and you need to decide who stays on the court. And behind the scenes, these decisions tell a story that sometimes we are slow to accept. I want to talk to you about this calmly, looking at the whole picture, because it's not just about one player. It's about direction. It's about identity. It's about what the Warriors are willing to do to try for another real run for the title while there's still time. Think with me about what the 2021 draft was like for this franchise. The Warriors were coming from a period of transition, trying to find themselves again after years in which the dynasty seemed automatic. And at that moment, the idea was almost perfect, maintaining the core that had already proven everything, and at the same time, building a bridge to the future. No one wants to wake up one day and discover that they have no plan for the next era. With the 7th pick, the Golden State bets on Jonathan Kuminga, a strong, athletic winger with size and explosion, coming from Ignite, the type of profile that makes any talent evaluator think, if he puts the right pieces together, he could become a special player. And I know you saw it too. You saw the ability to attack the rim, the ease in gaining space on the first step, the body ready for contact, the defense with the potential to score multiple positions. The idea was very clear. Kuminga would be this link between generations. I would learn from Steve Kerr, graduate from the system, grow up around leaders like Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, and little by little, it would stop being a promise and become a certainty. On paper, it's the kind of plan that seems like the right way to manage a championship franchise. And for a while, the signs were encouraging. Kuminga had moments where he seemed unstoppable going to the basket. There were games in which he entered with an energy that changed the team's rhythm, in which his physical presence made a difference. There were defensive possessions where you realized, if he understands timing and reading, he can be an above-average defender. That existed. You can't pretend otherwise. But the NBA is ruthless with those who live on a flash. The league requires constancy, charges repeatable impact, requires reliability. And when the team has title ambitions, this level of demand goes up even more, because you can't test too much when you're trying to win now. And here begins the delicate part of the conversation, because it involves fan frustration and, at the same time, a cold reading of basketball. This season, the feeling is that the curve that seemed to point upwards has slowed down. It's not that there aren't any good games. It's just that they appear and disappear. Is that the rhythm is not maintained. It's just that you have a night where he comes out aggressive, makes good decisions, defends carefully, and then there's another where he disappears from the game, seems disconnected, doesn't impose his presence. When this happens repeatedly, the coaching staff goes into that search mode, changing the role, changing the fit, testing it on the quintet, bringing it in from the bench, trying to find the right spot to extract the best. And when the answer still doesn't arrive, the message becomes harsher than any sentence in an interview. One of the signs. The strongest of all is when a "did not play due to the coach's decision" comes with the healthy player, because this is not rest. It's not preservation. It's a message. It's the coaching staff saying, "I have options, and today, I trust them more." For any lottery pick that should be at the center of a project, that weighs, and it weighs a lot. From then on, it's inevitable. You start looking not just at points or rebounds, but at real influence on the game. Modern basketball measures impact in 1,000 ways. Advanced numbers, efficiency variations, defense readings, spacing, avoidable turnovers, decisions in transition, posture without the ball, and, in the end, it all comes down to a simple question. When he is on the court, is the team closer to winning or more vulnerable? And this is where the context that changes everything comes in. The Warriors have Stephen Curry, still capable of deciding games at a very high level, but with a window that is not infinite. You look at the history of the league and understand. Having a talent of this size is rare, and when you have it, each season becomes a now. Every mistake becomes expensive. Every development choice that is too late becomes a luxury that is difficult to afford. That's why the front office's logic changes. What made sense a few years ago, being patient, waiting for full growth, accepting fluctuations, is starting to seem risky. Because the time a young person needs to mature may not coincide with the time the franchise has to compete for the top with its main core. And with the February trade deadline approaching, this pressure becomes concrete. It is not an abstract idea. It is a date that pushes decisions. It is the last great moment of the season to change the squad in a relevant way, to look for a piece that solves a specific need, to transform a good team into a team that is scary in a playoff series. The question then becomes inevitable, and I want you to think about it with me without emotion for a second. Do the Warriors continue to bet that Kuminga will turn the key in time? Or do you treat Kuminga as a valuable asset, one that can unlock a large exchange, and use this asset to try to place alongside Curry a ready, reliable reinforcement with immediate impact? According to reports from those who cover the Warriors closely, the organization is already inclined to explore the market, involving Kuminga in the coming weeks. And here, I need to be very clear. Exploring the market does not mean it will definitely be exchanged. It means that the team wants to hear proposals, wants to measure value, wants to understand what is out there, and if something appears that really improves the team now, the door is open. This, in itself, is already an important change, because it changes the way fans see the project, changes the player's label within the squad, changes the tone of conversation. And it changes what the rest of the league understands about the Warriors, that no one is untouchable when it comes to maximizing the chance of another title. And before anyone turns this into a war of opinion, you have to change versus you have to keep. It's also worth looking at the human side of the player, because from Kuminga's point of view, a change could be exactly what his career needs. There are athletes who need a different environment, more freedom, more minutes, a franchise under construction where mistakes are part of the process and not a reason for immediate benching. There are teams with patient schedules, with young cores, that could put Kuminga in a more prominent role, allowing him to experiment more, make more mistakes, learn more. And if the potential is real, and I believe there is potential, a scenario like this can accelerate what in Warriors is held back by context, by pressure, and by the need to win in the short term. On the Golden State side, the reasoning is very straightforward. Kuminga has value because he is still young, he still has a ceiling, he still has rare physical strength, he still arouses interest. And that makes it a weighty trading piece. He can be the main currency of a package that brings a true veteran. Someone who enters the court and delivers consistency, reading the game and presence in big moments. And then the market starts to get fascinating, Because there's always a team in difficulty with a useful veteran. There's always a squad that needs rebalancing. There's always an unsatisfied star or a fit that didn't work. And the Warriors' front office has proven, over the years, that it knows how to be aggressive when it believes it's worth it. This franchise has no history of watching the train pass without trying to get on. Big names always appear in rumors, and it's normal for fans to get excited. The point here is not to nag whoever comes. The point is to understand the type of player that makes sense, someone who clearly complements the Curry. It can be a secondary creator that alleviates the load. It can be an elite defender with a functional attack. It can be a winger that scores efficiently and doesn't compromise spacing. It can be a pivot that solves specific problems. Rim and rebound protection I kiss. Impact piece is not just famous name. It's fitting that changes series. And when you think about exchange, you need to think about return with a cool head. Warriors cannot simply give up a valuable asset and receive something lukewarm. At the same time, you cannot demand an impossible return if the market is not willing. The ideal usually falls into three paths: a veteran ready to contribute immediately, a younger player but more consistent and more advanced than Kuminga today, or a package that comes with rotation, plus draft capital, opening the door for a second, larger move. There is also the financial part, which many people ignore. Exchanges are not just about who is better. There's a salary cap, there's contract matching, there's a luxury tax, there's repetition punishments, there's planning for the following years. Sometimes a move that seems obvious on paper turns out to be a puzzle in practice. And this means that some negotiations require creativity, a third team, combinations that the fan does not imagine at first. Now, I don't want to go through this as if it were just calculations and spreadsheets, because there is an emotional side that weighs heavily. We saw Kuminga grow. We saw the explosive plays. We saw the promise. A lot of people got attached to the idea that he would be part of the next phase of the franchise. Giving up on this feels like we're giving up early, and I completely understand this pain, because fans also create history in their heads, create projection, create the future. It's just that title-minded franchises rarely have the luxury of waiting for pretty stories when what's at stake is a real window. And the Warriors, due to the Curry era itself, have always been a team that thought big. When he understood he needed it, he moved pieces. When he saw an opportunity, he went there and took it. And this mentality usually returns with force when the clock starts to tick. Timing is also important. It's mid-December, and that leaves a few weeks until the deadline. It's enough time for the team to work calmly, listen to proposals, put structures on the table, wait for the market to heat up, and, if necessary, act quickly when something really good comes along. Every game from now on becomes a showcase. Every absence becomes an analysis. Every change in the rotation becomes a theory. That's how it works. And the coach's attitude is important because he is the one who is there on a daily basis, watching training, seeing behavior, seeing the response to correction. When a player loses space due to a technical decision, it is because, in the commission's perception, there are problems that are not being resolved at the required pace. This does not mean that the player is no good. It means that, in that context, at that moment, the team believes it has safer options to win. There's also the locker room aspect. When trade speculation begins and the player feels his role has shrunk, it's natural for the atmosphere to change. Sometimes the athlete tries to prove too much and forces decisions. Sometimes it gets more stuck. Sometimes the relationship with the game gets heavy. And therefore, in some cases, the best solution for everyone is a clean separation. The team gains flexibility. The player gains a fresh start. At its core, this whole story is a question about identity. Is Warriors, in fact, in title or nothing mode while Curry is still playing at that level? Or are you beginning to accept a gradual transition into the next era? When you hear that the team is willing to put a promising young player on the market, the message that appears is, we still believe we can fight now, but we need to adjust the squad. And this can be exciting for fans who want to see another banner in the Chase Center. Because the worst feeling is realizing that the team has a genius on the court and is not doing everything they can to take advantage. Curry is no ordinary player, and franchises rarely get another chance of this size once that era passes. On the other hand, there is a scenario in which no proposal is really worth it. And if that happens, the Warriors will have to manage Kuminga's situation in the best way possible, whether it's trying to recover value with more consistent minutes, trying to find a fit that works, or planning a move further down the line. But this scenario is usually Plan B, because Plan A, when the window is tight, is to try the hit that improves today. From now until February, I promise you, everything will be observed with a magnifying glass. Every good game becomes valued. Every bad game becomes lowered the price. Every rumor turns into a discussion, and the fans will be divided, because it is impossible not to be divided when you are choosing between the future and the present. Now, I want to ask you the question, in the most honest way possible. If you were in the front office's shoes, would you change Kuminga if a piece appeared ready to raise the level immediately? Or would you hold on, betting that he can still be a real difference within Warriors itself, even with the inconsistency? Answer me in the comments with your vision, but also tell me why, because that's where the conversation gets good. What do you think the team needs most today? Creation? Defense? Size? Constancy? And what kind of player do you think is worth sacrificing a young asset to bring in? And if you want to follow this in detail, news by news, movement by movement, because between now and the deadline anything can happen, then do the basics that help a lot. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. Because when any major update comes out about the market, rotation, internal decision, I want you to be here with me, understanding what really changes and what is just noise. And now I want to close with you in the way this subject deserves, because this is not just another rumor lost in the feed. This is a real crossroads. It's the type of decision that separates a franchise that follows the league from a franchise that decides the league. When Warriors puts an asset like Kuminga on the market's radar, the message is clear. The time for "let's see" is over. Either this squad takes a leap now, or the window starts hitting the beam in a way that hurts. And that's why I tell you, the next few weeks are going to be the hottest of this season. Each game will have behind-the-scenes reading. Each rotation will turn into a track. Every DNP, every change in the quintet, every insider report will carry a hidden message. And, when the right change appears, it doesn't warn you in advance. It explodes out of nowhere and changes the championship from one day to the next. So do the following to avoid being left out and not relying on clippings, rumors, or half-baked headlines. Go to the pinned comment now and click on the Golden State Warriors News Today playlist. There I am leaving everything organized, in order, with context, with updates, and with the complete timeline of what is happening. Because this story will not be told in just one video, and whoever follows the playlist will understand the entire puzzle before anyone else. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave a like to strengthen our community, because from now on, information arrives quickly, and we will unravel everything calmly, clearly, and without fuss. And when this decision becomes a real movement, you will be able to say that you were already here, following it from the first sign.